Meow. Meow, meow, meow. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. Drop your linen and start your grinning. It's that time of the night on a Tuesday. You know? You know what I'm saying?
I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. Word.
Word, word, word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for no reason at all. You'd just be like, dum dum today.
Dum dum da 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 ba doo ba doo. Ba 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 da ba dow.
Can I tell you that your scatting is second to none?
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
You are a legend in this.
There's nothing I like doing more than just randomly scatting around the house and just slowly getting louder and louder with each like phrase that I do. Or I'll start out by being like do 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 ba ba bow. Ba ba bow do do do. And then I just take a deep breath, and I'm like skaba ba doo ba dow. It's like I go for the shut up. You know, you gotta go hard. You know, you gotta go hard.
I also like the statement, there's nothing I love to do than go around my house scatting.
Yeah.
Because it can be taken one of two ways, depending on, how you're feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. I love to go around and just scat. Skibbity bop, pow. It's part of warming up is we got to warm up the soundboard, you know? It's part of what we got to do.
Because I'm the scat man.
That one's just so long. It's just so long.
That's the sound clip I need. It's just that, what's the guy's name? Scat
Jenkins?
Scat Man. I need to pull. That's going to be my next soundbite.
Yeah, Scatman John?
Doug has stopped listening to anything.
Scatman Mandingo?
Doug has lost interest in all of my thoughts.
Scat Mandingo?
Scat Mandingo ate your baby.
Scatman... I got nothing.
Excuse me.
Yeah. Excuse me. Excuse me, Toots.
Excuse me. It's Tuesday.
Dude, you know what? Lately, I've made farts that sound like this fart board, like almost like pitch perfect. And I hear it and I'm like, that sounds just like it, you know?
Is that plagiarism?
No, I think, what, if you sing an A note, is that plagiarism, Justin?
Ask Ed Sheeran, Doug.
Yeah, right? Apparently not, because he survived that lawsuit, so good for him.
Good for Ed. I'm proud of him. I've always thought of him like a son.
Yeah. Don't we all?
Like a gingered son.
Like a son.
That's far too old for me to actually have sired.
Yeah. I was going to say something really dumb and inappropriate. And I was like, stop. Just stop. I know we're live and we're not recording yet, but we don't need to do that. That's not where we need to go.
No way I could. Yeah, he's too old. He can't be my son. I'm good. I'm safe.
For now.
As if there was actual concern.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Oh my God. Am I his dad?
How old?
Am I his dad?
Am I Ed Sheeran's dad?
Yes.
That needs to be the title for the episode tonight. Am I Ed Sheeran's dad?
Oh my God. That's awesome.
Sure.
Why not?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
All right. All right. Should we get the show on the road?
Let's hit this shit up.
We are recording. Two records.
Did you record on your thing?
I did.
Okay. I'm hitting record on my thing.
I'm recording on the stream. I'm recording on my device. You're recording. Are we ready?
Ready.
Here we go. 3, 2, 1. You know, a lot of people would say that didn't hit the same time. Disagree.
Yeah.
Hard disagree.
People aren't watching the stream on my side, so hard disagree.
So go fuck yourself, I think. That's is what we're trying to say.
I think the moral of the story is I might be Ed Sheeran's father, so fuck off.
go dingle your butthole. All right? How about that?
I'm in. Yeah.
Yeah, you ever thought about that?
Do you think about that?
Do
before
you?
Speak?
Do you think about that? Do you think about dingling your butthole before you open your mouth?
Think about butthole dingling?
You ever thought about that?
Then shut it.
That's right. Shut your butthole.
Shut it down.
Shut it down. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Mind Gap Podcast. I'm Doug.
I'm Justin, and boy, oh boy, I'm tired.
Yep.
Doug, we're on day 11.
Day 11. What?
Of this pretty poop.
Hold on. Let's set this up the right way. Okay,
Yeah.
hold on. Let's do, where we were. No, wait. Hold on. All right, everyone be cool. Everyone be cool.
It's very mystic.
Here we go. Day 11.
The sun rose over the horizon. Justin's eyes opened faintly. But it wasn't the sun that awoke him. It was the smell that hit his nostrils. Shit. Yeah, my pup has got the squirts.
I think it's so cute you call your wife your puppy.
I'm tired enough that your dad jokes are working on me.
Hey, listen, that's a staple around my house. That's a staple. So you're welcome.
You call your wife puppy?
Just like, someone will say, man, I can't believe, I don't know, I just tried to replicate it. Or someone will be like, oh, your hair looks so nice. I'll just pop in and be like, thank you. Like I'll just interject, or someone will be referencing to someone. I'll be like, oh, hey, sweetie. I'm like, and hello to you too, Jill, as I'm looking at the dog, like just interjecting dumb shit like that. That's kind of how I roll. So,
I like it.
Yeah, that's what I do. If that's the extent of my dad jokes, then
you're in a good spot.
I'm in a good spot.
Because there are people who are in a worse way than that.
I typically don't like dad jokes. I feel like they're fucking stupid. I think they're really dumb, and they irritate me. Just like a lot of puns, a lot of really bad puns. I'm just like, come on, we can do better than that.
So you're not a pun. You're not a pun guy.
Nope. Here's the thing.
He'd be so disappointed to hear.
Oh,
that.
he knows. We've been there. Now, there's a good pun. I mean, a really good pun. I'm here for it. But just the lazy, the lazy stuff. I'm like, get out of here. We can do better than that as a society. We can do that. We can do better. So there's a whole bunch of poop in your house, huh?
There is, yes. Well, there's not anymore because I clean it up very, very efficiently. But I don't know. When you get a dog from the shelter, a lot of times they come preloaded with some sort of parasites that you have to work with, and get out with medication. We also made the mistake of changing his food just a hair too fast. And I think the hookworm combined with the diet change really did a number on his poor little tummy. And so, like I said, we're on day 11. And here's the thing. Practical Justin has broken. He broke a few days ago. But Practical Doug will love this one. So during the day, there might be... He might go 6 hours without pooping during the day. 6-7 hours without pooping. At night, he'll go 3 or 4 times. You tell me why. And we feed him in the morning, we feed him at noon, and we feed him at night. So there is like the variables are minimal. Like I can't really figure out what happened here, but like his whole shitcadian rhythm, not circadian rhythm, but the shitcadian rhythm has just shifted. And now he's a night pooper.
I love how you're like, you tell me, Doug. You tell me.
Doug.
You're commanding me. Tell me why. Tell me why this is happening.
I keep telling Beth, I need someone to tell me because it doesn't make sense and it's driving me insane. I can't figure it out. I'm like, he's fine during the day. And then at night, it's just like...
I'm not a bowel soothsayer, nor am I that with dogs. But in my experience, from what I'm not the Nostradamus of the the butthole.
Who is? Am I right?
Right. I mean, I want to meet that guy, and let's face it, it's a guy. who is the Nostradamus of the butthole.
With
That
a-
ain't a
unless-
woman, all right?
Unless really throw you for a loop.
Yeah.
It's a woman who just really can predict everything butthole related.
No, I'm going to say odds are it's a dude because dudes are obsessed with buttholes. So,
You're not wrong. Yeah.
I know, Justin. But my limited wisdom when it comes to animals, particularly puppies, is that usually you feed them and then within a short amount of time, everything moves through their system and then, it's poopy time. So the idea that he can get up, eat breakfast, eat lunch, and then eat dinner, and then like, all right, it's all coming out at the same time.
I've been waiting.
It's. I'm sure it's a phase. I don't think
I
it's
hope
going to
the
be
fuck
like
it is.
let's unload this all at night sort of situation. Which I mean, if you're ever away and you're like, don't worry, we'll know he'll just poop at night. I mean, maybe that'll be some sort of comfort. But for now, you're like, that's the thing that sucks about having a puppy is you're constantly looking at their body language. You're like, do you need to go? Do you need to go?
That's it too.
Is this
Every
it?
time
Like,
you start sniffing, I'm like, are you exploring or is this a sign? And I'm
yeah, I got hypersensitive to that with Loki, where I was just like, oh my god, does she need to go? Just like, and now I'm gonna give you this because you have Abby, but here's some light at the end of the tunnel. The last several nights, Loki has like come to wake us up to basically be like, please let me outside because I need to poop, and it's the nicest thing.
Yes, absolutely. Like if she'll jump into bed, and if she lays right down, you're like, oh, she just wanted to get up in the bed. But if she jumps in and she hovers over your face, you're like, oh, you get up now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
it's wonderful when you've got a dog that can communicate that shit.
This morning when I got up, I opened the door and Loki was right there, just sitting there right there. She's immediately wagging her tail, which is always a delightful thing. I'm like, oh, hey, she's wagging her tail. She's just following me around. I'm like, you probably need to take a shit. Like because over the weekend I left the door open a crack, and at one point she came barreling in, 2 paws up on the bed, was like, hey, I kind of got something here. And
Gotta go.
Can we go? And I was like, all right. And I like let her out, and it's just like massive dump. Just like, I'm like, we've come a long way, Loki. I'm very proud of you. And I was like, look at this sweet girl. So,
Yeah.
It gets there, but yeah, I don't know, man. The stress of trying to deal with a puppy who is constantly like wandering off. You're like, where are you going? No.
Yep. And that's the thing too, is I want to trust him to be like, yeah, go explore the house, but I don't want to find a surprise later on.
Yeah.
And I know I will without a doubt. It's either going to be something's torn up or there's a little bit of him left behind.
Yeah. So how old is he now?
He is 4.5 months. 4 months. We'll call it.
Yeah. He's got a long way to go. So
and that's the thing is like, I know eventually, well, I hope eventually it gets better. There's like a 2% sliver of me that's like, this is the rest of my life.
Yeah.
It'll never get better.
Yeah, no, I remember the same thing when we had Loki and she was a puppy. I was like, why the fuck did we do this? I remember just being like, God, this was a mistake,
Right.
My brother was like, hey, dude, by age 3, it's going to be great. I'm like, that's so far away.
That's so wrong.
That's so far away. I was like, I can't even fathom leaving her alone. And now it's like we can leave her at the house for several hours and she's cool and it's good. We don't have to like leave her in the crate all the time. We give her free reign of the house, which is awesome. So it's been really good. But yeah, my heart goes out to you, man. There's nothing worse than waking up and be like, there's shit everywhere.
Right. Well, and that's and the thing is, like I said, like I have been setting my alarm every 2 hours. I get up every 2 hours and I go and check. And somehow, like I'll take it, like the alarm will go off at midnight. I'll take him out. He does his thing. I'm like, great. Maybe we make it 2 more hours, and it doesn't matter whatever times I set it for. Somehow he finds the in between times, and I'll wake up like that 2 o'clock hour. It's almost a constant. I'll wake up and I've tried to set it for like 1:45, 1:30. Doesn't matter when I adjust it. I always miss that window by that much, and I'm like, this. So like 2 o'clock for me is like that. It's the horror hour. Like I'll wake up and I'm like, you may as well have just said Bloody Mary in the mirror 3 times because this is happening.
Yeah, I mean, here's what's gonna happen. You're gonna train yourself to basically get all your important sleep within 2 hours. So basically, you only need to sleep for 2 hours. That's how it's going to
I'm
go.
going to be like The Rock. That's what he does. He gets 4 hours of sleep, and he's bright as a button.
I mean, I know a lot of military guys do that. They train themselves to basically it's a grueling process where it takes them several weeks, but eventually they train their body to basically be like, when I lay my head down, I go to sleep, and your body instantly goes into like the exact type of sleep that you need. It goes deep and hard, and for 2 hours you come up, you're like, cool, I got everything that I needed. And they can basically, live on 2 hours. It's not ideal, but they can make it happen. I was like,
that just sounds like a recipe for dementia, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, it's not
good for the brain health.
No,
I know that.
It's not good. And I also remember getting really frustrated because one of the first long trips we took Loki on was up to New Buffalo, which is only like an hour and 15 minutes away. But she made it the whole way. We pull into the beach, to get out, and she barfs right then and there. We had just pulled in, and she goes, "Blah!" I'm like, 30 seconds, we would have been out of this van. I was so mad. I was like, God damn it. And that's like one stoplight. It was like I was doing the Practical Doug math. I was like, this was just seconds away from being successful. And I was like, God damn it, man. God damn it. So pissed. So upset.
Oh my God.
Shout out to Siren, who's like, oh, we talking about puppers? You're damn right we're talking about puppers. I said, when I was young, I got Ready Breck out. It's a type of porridge oats. I was wanting to make breakfast for myself and my parents. I got 3 bowls. I was shaking the Ready Breck around the kitchen, covering both our border collies. They thought it was snowing.
I'm sure it was a fun day for them. They were like, oh, yay.
Woo! This is what I'm talking about.
We're going to roll on this. I'm going to go sit on the couch.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Speaking of Siren, hey, did you know that we, live stream our podcast on Tuesdays at 7 p.m.? You could be cool like Siren and join us right here. Be a part of the show. YouTube.com/MindGapPodcast. Check us out. Check out all the other cool stuff we got there, Yeah.
Yeah, do it.
It's a plug for ourselves. Yeah.
Plug, yeah. Speaking of plugs. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Speaking of plugs, So, I mentioned this last week when I didn't have a lot to recommend, but I have been rewatching Game of Thrones.
Yes, you have. And I was surprised about this because you had such visceral feelings about the last 2 seasons when they aired.
Yes.
It's on tape. Everyone can go back and listen to it. There was no love lost there.
No,
sure.
I was very disappointed with the series, and it left a really bad taste in my mouth to the point where when House of the Dragon came out, I was like, go fuck yourself. I'm not doing this again.
Right.
And I really drug my feet. You watched it. You gave it good praise. I saw in general people were like, hey, it's pretty good. My brother was like, you should check it out. I was like, fine, I'll do it.
Begrudgingly,
I did. And then I was like, all right, that was great. Great first season. I'm super pumped. And I was like, because I thought about rewatching Game of Thrones and just going through season 6 and then stopping and being like, cool, I did this. But then I was like, you know what? I'm in the Game of Thrones mood. I just got done watching House of the Dragon. Let's watch this. Let's see what we can do with. And I've just torn through it. I'm on the last season right now, and it's been an interesting rewatch because it's not as bad as I remember. It's not as good as I remember. So the high highs and the low lows have kind of been leveled out. They've been normalized. Okay. And
you've gone through an emotional compressor.
Yes, that's exactly what it was. And I've enjoyed it, and even especially because season 7 and 8 really pissed me off initially. Yep. I think part of it was the pacing because what should have been just a season, because typically they would do 10 to 12 episodes, I think, for a season. They were like, we're going to do season 7, which is 8 episodes. We're going to do season 8, which is 7 episodes, or 8, whatever. They basically did 15. Right. They did a whole season split in 2. I was like, you guys are fucking dicks. They're just trying to stretch this out. And I think expectations were insanely high, and I felt like they fell short in a lot of ways.
Okay.
But upon getting back through this again, I haven't been as bothered. I think partially because, I know what's going to happen. Okay. So I'm kind of like, all right, cool, I know what to expect. And because of that, because expectations are out the window and I know what's going to happen, I can just sit and sort of enjoy it. Just appreciate and watch it. And some of the things that bothered me was the fast travel Because in the previous seasons, like, it took a long time for people to get from point A to point B.
Absolutely,
and in the later seasons, it's like, we got to fly from the Iron Islands up to the wall. We do it. And it's like, okay, like, well, how long does that take? And how long were they?
Within the hour-long episode, they get there.
I was like, how long were they stuck on this frozen lake surrounded by the undead before, Daenerys gets there with her dragon to save him? I'm like, I don't know, man. And I got really hung up on that. It didn't bother me as much this time. I'm like, yeah, whatever. What are you going to do? I was like, it's fine. It's what it is. And, the character arcs are pretty solid for the most part. But I got to season 8, episode 3, which is called The Long Night.
Okay.
And that's the one. It's a big battle sequence that happens at night at Winterfell. Spoiler alert, by the way, for anyone who hasn't seen this show, it's going to happen. I'm going to bring down the hammer, bring down the thunder. But I remember watching this episode and being disappointed. And this is one where I feel the same way after watching it again. And
so this one has not eased. There's no compression on this one. This one is still wildly. This one infuriates you.
Yeah, this one still pissed me off, and for a very specific reason.
All right, let me hear it.
All right, so I need to preface this by saying, just like I'm not a butthole Nostradamus, I'm also not a military tactical expert. I'm not a commandant. I'm not a commander. I'm not a general. I'm not an admiral. I'm not a Space Force capitan. I'm none of that stuff.
Thank you for clarifying that.
I think that needs to be said.
Clear on your background, but yeah.
My credentials have been in question for a long time, and I feel like I need to set the record straight. So, that being said, what I do know from battle tactics comes from video games, from things like real-time strategy games like Warcraft, Total War, things of that nature. Age of Mythology, Age of Empires, games where you build armies and you send them out to fight other combatants. And part of the thing about that is that over the time I've learned there's like basic things with basic units. You've got things like cavalry units, you've got infantry units, and you've got ranged units, and you've got siege. And all of them are strong against something and weak against other stuff. There's like a rock, paper, scissors things that goes with it. So like cavalry is really good against like light armored things. So it's like archers, siege weapons, like they swoop in, they attack them, they tear them up, they move on. They're really good. They're also very fast. Infantry are typically like, depending on what type of infantry, but if they have spears, they're good against cavalry. So, that's anti-cavalry. Archers, really good against infantry because they can shoot them from a distance. Siege weapons, really good against fortifications. That's kind of how all that stuff works. And I think again, I'm not an expert. That stuff is based on historical things and how they've been used in the past.
Okay. So
that is my baseline going into the show. And I remember watching the show, and other people broke this down, like at the time, but I think we need to revisit this again. So this episode starts with all of the cavalry out in front. Okay, so they have a fortification. They have the castle, Winterfell, very heavily fortified, right? So they've got cavalry, and then behind the cavalry are their siege equipments, their catapults. And behind the catapults are the infantry that are outside of the castle, and then on the castle ramparts are the archers.
Okay.
This seems flawed to me because the cavalry are going to move. Cavalry are not going to stay, right? Like that's their job is not to be stationary. That would be dumb. Right. That'd be pointless. Right. So that means when the cavalry leaves, the siege weapons are exposed to all sorts of attacks. Now you could argue, well, Doug, the siege weapons have limited range, so they got to be someplace to be, effective. Okay, I guess that makes sense. But then wouldn't you want to protect them? So already that's flawed to me. And we're like, all right, okay. So these Dothraki, the cavalry, they line up. The Red Wizard lady's like, fire, flame on! She turns fire onto their scythes, and they just go fucking charging into the darkness. This is in the middle of the night. It's magical darkness. They can't see shit. They light up their scythes, and they just fucking charge headlong into the darkness because they're like, the undead are here. They're like, we got this. And they just go. They just do their war cries, and they go. And it was so dumb because they can't even see where the enemy is. But they're just like, full steam ahead. While they're charging,
they're that way-ish.
They're like, there. While they're charging, they go, send in the siege, and they start firing siege weapons, which are flaming balls of artillery stuff, which immediately made me go, why didn't you start with the artillery? Why didn't you start with the siege weapons? Fire that stuff out there with fire and light up the landscape so you could at least see where these things are. And also, you're going to thin them out. When I play these types of games, I'm a conservative asshole. What I do is, I say, cut funding to Social Security, cut funding to Medicare, and most important, turtle up and beat them down with your siege equipment. Right. That's what you got to do.
It's just how Ron DeSantis plays.
Exactly. Yeah. Because the point is, if they don't have siege, which they don't, they have to come to you because you're just going to sit there, pick them off. You're going to weaken them. If they're human, or they're not in this case, they're undead. They don't think, feel, or whatever. You will demoralize them. They'll get beat up. They might get scared. They might run away. So you're like, your objective is to take me, so I'm going to make you fucking pay for it. I have the shit that's going to make this happen. And when I play games like Total War, whatever, and I have artillery, and the other team does it, I'm like, you're going to fucking pay for it. You're going to have to get to me, and I'm going to pelt you to death with it. I will probably weaken your army significantly, and you're going to be tired by the time you get to me. So then I've got fresh troops just waiting for you. Can you imagine that? You got to run across the field, and you're like, dodging shit, psychologically taking this stuff, and then you get there, and you're like, and the other guy's like, hey, man.
Welcome.
Yeah, and stab you with a spear. That's just how it goes.
Yeah.
So, but they don't do that. They charge, and while the Dothraki are charging, they fire a couple shots, and the Dothraki. And don't get me wrong, this is a really cool cinematic shot because you see it from a distance. You watch as their flaming scythes slowly start to get snuffed out, bit by bit. The screams stop, the battle cries stop, and you just watch all the lights go out. And I'm like, awesome. So here's what we know at this point about the White Walkers, right? The super powerful guy, the Night King, can raise people from the dead. Mm-hmm. So you just sacrificed all of your cavalry and those horses, and when the guy just decides to raise his hand up, all of them will get up and now be reinforcing the undead army.
Right. Also,
bravo, you morons.
Some of the best warriors in the world are now part of your undead army.
Yeah, exactly. So, congrats. And they know this. We've established that in the episode Hardhome when Jon Snow and the wildlings watch as the undead attack, and then there's this creepy part at the end where the Night King just raises his hands up and everyone that fought and died rise up and they become undead. They know this information.
Right.
So the wildlings know it. They're fighting. Jon Snow knows it. They're fighting. Someone should have been like, we probably shouldn't just charge them in like that. What you should do, use your siege, put them behind your infantry, the Unsullied, the amazing spear guys, right? Have them protect in the front, and as the undead charge, hit them with your siege. Have the cavalry off to the sides, so once they come and engage with the infantry, it's kind of known as tar pitting, right? It means they're engaged, they can't break free. You then come in from the sides, and you hit them with your cavalry. Hit, pull back, shock troops, right? That would be the ideal way to use them. Instead, it's like, go get them, boys! And they all die. They're dead.
Doug, I don't believe for a goddamn second that you're not an actual 17-star general.
No, I mean, if you put me into a battle, I'd be like, I don't know, man. I don't know.
You just laid out a perfect battle plan for me. What are you talking about? This sounds like someone who's trying to hide their past, Doug.
My past of what?
Suspect that I'm on to you.
I was a general. Yes. A general in the fake island of Westeros.
Who knows, man? Anything's possible in this world.
So that happens, right? And then, so all the cavalry get annihilated. And then the undead come charging. And at that point, the siege weapons, I guess, are just forgotten about. And they just get absolutely destroyed. I assume you don't see anything. They take 2 shots and that's it. They're gone. You're like, great. Well done. So the infantry start getting just smashed by this undead horde, right? And we watch all of these guys just get killed and just get murdered, whatever. And not once do you see the fucking archers on the ramparts shoot a goddamn arrow. They're not shooting. They should be shooting. As the undead advance, it's like, you do your volleys. They don't. They don't shoot until the infantry are so overwhelmed they start retreating back into the castle. And then they're like, then you finally see them go, oh, we've got to do our job, Which I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Longbows, fucking launch that shit and let's go.
Let's fucking go. So that annoyed me. So then Castle gets overrun. Fine, whatever, it is what it is. But then there's this weird sequence where like Arya it's almost like a horror film or a zombie film where she's trying to sneak through the library and there's zombies there and she's trying to be quiet. It just seems like such a giant waste of time.
I'm like kitchen scene from Jurassic Park mixed with, Because
we see outside of that, there's this frantic, flurry of chaos and fighting and death. But for some reason, they slow down everything to be like, by the way, these things are kind of scary, Let's see how scary they are. These things are just rabid, mindless things to just run around. For some reason, they're just like, just like through a library. I'm like, this is really dumb.
Yeah.
And then, and then we get to, the end of the episode where Bran, the three-eyed raven, is just sitting in the Godswood. And for whatever reason, they're like, we've got the Ironborn here, which is great, but they all have fucking bows and arrows. Which, don't get me wrong, they're great shots. But guess what? This is going to become close quarters action. And all of them just get quickly. They get it was the office linebacker, whatever that episode.
Tate.
Yeah, Terry Tate just comes in, just starts tackling these guys, and I'm like, this isn't what you know. Like, have a couple of them, but aren't you going to have some guys that have like a spear or sword and board, something like just to like prevent or bottle them up or pull some 300 level shit? And they're just like all sitting there like as they've got their bows and arrows. I'm like, and then at the end, fucking Theon has a spear or whatever, and he's doing some stuff. And I was really hard on that scene initially because Theon just does like, I don't know. I know it was meant to be powerful, but he just like screams and in slow motion charges the Ice King, who just like doesn't even flinch. I was like, it seemed pointless, but I give it more credit because Theon had always run from everything up until that point.
His moment.
So he's like, I'm not running, even in the face of death. So I give it a lot more credit. But I also think it was the way that it was filmed really bothered me because he's just like, and there's this powerful music. And I'm like, I don't know, man. Something about the visuals.
Making it, man.
Like,
everyone knows it. Yeah.
I was like, And then it ends, with the Night King is about to approach Bran. He's going to try and kill Bran. And then Arya, who I haven't seen since the library, I mean, minutes have gone by. I mean, you've forgotten about her. And she just like teleports into the courtyard to try and stab the Night King. And this courtyard is full of all of like the Night King's lieutenants, the undead. They're there. I don't know where she came from.
Just like in a flurry of like snow, just like powder. It just all of a sudden she just comes out of this.
Well, you see the Night King like he's going to unsheath his sword, and then in the background behind him, you see her going coming in. And the only thing I can liken it to is if anyone's ever played World of Warcraft and you play as a rogue, there was an ability called Shadow Step, where you would pick your target and you would use the ability and you would teleport behind them so you could backstab them. I imagine she used that ability, except instead she's going like if you're being sneaky, you don't do a battle cry and try to stab someone in the back. And it was really upsetting. I'm glad she killed him, but that bothered me back then when I first saw it. It bothered me again where I'm like, God, this is dumb. It's so dumb because where the fuck did she come from? We spent so much time being like, where's Arya? Well, she's in the library right now, but we skip over the part where it's like, well, how'd she get from the library to the Night King? Details,
Well, I'm wondering because she was trained, what is that, by the man who has no name or whatever?
Yeah, the nameless, the faceless men.
Yeah. Like she was trained in that compound. Like, so, and they were doing some crazy shit, right? Like maybe they have Shadow Step. Maybe that's a thing.
We didn't see anything that would have led us to believe that
maybe
she could teleport.
Used the face of one of the lieutenants.
That would have been some wild shit if she just like steps up behind and then she just goes, and they're like, we had no idea. We're the worst guards ever, We thought she was dead. God damn it, And Seth goes, and why the fuck was it her? I was really annoyed when I first saw this that it was Arya that killed him because it seemed like they were setting up Jon to do it. But that episode I think was a lot about, it's actually, if you read the description for the episode, it's like Arya proves her abilities as being a warrior. So it was really, that episode was about Arya proving herself to be like a knight, someone that can fight. And I think the second time watching it, it didn't bother me as much that Arya did it.
Yeah.
But it felt like it didn't have the same impact, Seth said, "Subvert your expectations," I think was the line they were trying to feed us. Yeah, I think they were trying to be like, ha ha ha, it's, It just, I don't think it had the impact that it could have. I don't know. I was more lukewarm to it this time than before. I was like, this is fucking dumb. Because I remember going to work after watching people like, it's so fucking badass. Arya's such a badass. I'm like, was she? Because she just fucking teleported. All right? It's bullshit. I don't get it.
Look, Arya, undoubtedly, she became one hell of a fucking warrior. Like she got skills on skills on skills, and she put her time in and fucking trained like a motherfucker. But
undisputed.
At the same time, I do remember having that same feeling of like, I'm not upset that she's the one that dealt the final blow, but I'm also confused by it. I think that's where I was more like, I'm not upset by it. Like, I'm fine with it. Like, I think that's badass, but at the same time, why her? There's so many people that it could have been. And she felt like she maybe tangentially was linked to what was going on. Like she wasn't directly in the path of, for the majority of the show, was not directly in the path of anything that had been going on in that, on the march down from the north. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, it's also like we saw her train to be an amazing assassin. She was basically a rogue, like stealthy, poisoning people.
Again, I would say
murdering people.
We assume that she's able. Then she's got some skills.
But we see her do all this amazing shit, and then what does she do? She screams as she goes to assassinate somebody with a knife.
Yeah.
We watch her play. It's so cool. She assassinates Walder Frey, right? And then she puts on his face and assassinates his entire family. She plays it so fucking cool. She goes and duels with Brienne of Tarth, one-on-one with a rapier. She's just like cool as can be.
Right.
But when it comes to this pitiful moment, she goes, ah! And what happens? Night King turns around, grabs her by the throat, stops her mid, because anyone with ears can hear someone doing that.
I'm here! Yeah.
The cool move is she goes, and he stops her and he grabs her hand that has the knife, and then she does the old drop, catch it with the one underneath, and then stab.
Yeah.
So that part was cool, but everything else leading up to it, I'm like, you're betraying your skills. You betrayed yourself.
Unless she wanted to get caught, and maybe she had trained specifically with that. That was her
I'm going to stop here, devil's advocate, right here, sir.
Hold on, I'm just saying, maybe that was the Arya Stark move that she came up with and honed in the House of the Faceless Man, or whatever the fuck his non-name is. And, she was like, this is my go-to. This is my finishing move, She was basically...
That's stupid.
She was just waiting in the wings, and all of a sudden she heard...
Finish him.
And then she did that, and she's like...
Fatality.
And that was it.
Yeah. And on her way there to kill him, it's... And he's like, wait, what? What's coming to kill me? Yeah. So
this episode still gave you a little bit of agita, but why do you think in general you're okay with why did you go through the emotional compressor? Why are you not nearly as overall aggravated with the final two seasons as you had been?
I think part of it is I'm taking a little bit of a nod from Jared, and that I like the way Jared watches things, and that he just consumes them and he enjoys them, because the majority of that show I very much enjoy. It's a fascinating fantasy, world that's based on some real life historical events, particularly the dragons. But the idea, what fascinated me about House of the Dragon was it's not a show about war, not yet anyway, but it was a show about who's going to fucking rule, and you saw all the alliances, the idea of the duty to make heirs, because if you don't, then your path to the throne is broken. And all I saw from that show, and then also watching Game of Thrones, is man, fuck being the king. Jesus Christ, what a nightmare.
That's not all it's cracked up to be.
What an absolute nightmare. And to some degree, I mean, that's a lot of what happened with monarchies and stuff back hundreds of years ago, where people would try to essentially make peace through marriage. And, if someone had a bastard child, it's like, that you don't have a claim to the throne now. Someone else can have a more viable claim. Or, oh, you're a woman. Yeah, a woman can't rule. It's got to be a guy. And just the nonsense that people would do and go through. And not only that, but the fucking inbreeding people would do to just make that shit happen. Delicious. And so all that stuff being said, like rewatching it, I mean, it is a solid story. There's some really great story arcs with some of the characters like Sansa, Jon Snow, Arya. Like all of them had some really, really cool trajectories, and you get to see them grow, and it's really fucking, it's awesome. And just the idea of having power always just, I've said it before, I'll say it again, dude. I don't want power. I don't want to be a manager. What
would you do if it was thrust on you? Like what happened? Like, what was that? Oh God, was it John Goodman? Where he was it King George? I think was the name of it.
Yeah.
Where basically, he was a long lost relative. So the monarchy in England got together for a family photo. The lawn had flooded and they all got electrocuted by the lights and they all died. And he was the last living descendants, like a third cousin, twice removed, whatever it was, and he got to come over and be king. If that happened, and somehow you're Scottish, so let's say the Scottish, you're the
only guy that didn't fuck sheep in your family, so
So what happens if, like, let's say Scotland just got dumped in your lap? What would you do?
Oh my God, it's just, I don't want to be in charge.
I like how you got a knot in your stomach just from the hypothetical.
I mean, there was a point in my life when I worked at the hotel where I was like, for a briefest of moment, I was like, I think it'd be cool to be the general manager of a hotel. And then it was just like a fart in the wind. It went away. I'm like, that would suck. That would be a nightmare.
Yeah.
Because I'd be responsible for this property. I would never be able to have time off because I'd always have, because I saw the general manager was constant. He was on vacation. He was constantly answering and sending emails. He was checking in with things. Like, I'm like, what a fucking nightmare to have to manage this entire property. And that was one building in Chicago. I can't imagine being in charge of a country, let alone a powerful one that has standing in the world, and to be in charge of the people. Like, I follow political news all the time. I'm like, God, I don't know who wants to make these decisions. You're fucked either way. Like, it's no good. It's so easy to be like, well, this is what should be done. But it's like, yeah, but that ain't going to happen. You're going to have to make concessions. You got to try and appease some people and realize when is the right time to basically be like, fuck someone over. And also preparing, like trying to play like 3 steps ahead, where it's like, well, we'll just do this. And what a miserable life. And to what? To have power? To basically be like, hey, let's nuke that country. Like,
a certain kind of person that hungers for that kind of power.
To get flown around in a jet, that's all yours. Like, congrats. Like, you're absolutely right.
I know how to play chess. I don't really enjoy it because I don't like thinking that many steps ahead. Anytime I would watch any show that was like political thriller or intrigue, like House of Cards, before
Spacey went,
when it first came out, everyone was into it. Just watching how he would, everyone would manipulate and put something in play. If I do this, that's going to trigger this person to do this. Who will do this? Who will do and this and then they're setting things up that will pay off months down the road for themselves. There are people who truly do operate that way. My brain does not work that way. I can't even write a script where someone else is doing that, let alone do it for myself. So I would be the world's worst politician. Could not do it.
I'm also too nice. Like I'm always going to assume people have good intentions, and they don't. And
exactly.
I just don't have the stomach nor the disposition for that. So if someone's like, actually, Doug, you are the true heir to the throne, I'd be like, I identify with Jon Snow. They're like, hey, man, he's like, I don't want this.
Right.
They're like, maybe that's why you should have it. He goes, no, I don't want to do this. This sounds like a nightmare. It's like, yeah.
As my first decree as ruler of this land, pass.
No more kings. It's over.
Kings, yeah.
I will rest now. Like, just, yeah, it's an absolute nightmare. So, to answer your question, it's a solid show. It doesn't necessarily end the way. I mean, I'm about to finish it up. You know, but I definitely I forgive a lot more than when I first watched it because I had expectations of where I wanted to go, and I think because it didn't meet those expectations, like I just watched the scene where Cersei dies. Spoiler alert. And it's one of those things that I remember being super fucking pissed when I watched it because I'm like, that's not how she fucking die. It's fucking bullshit. She
died in the belly of the cave, right? Or the castle, right? With, Jaime?
Yeah, basically the castle's, crumbling. I got pissed that Jaime went back originally, but then this time I was like, actually, that makes sense.
I mean, if you think of it from a character standpoint, you're like, yeah, absolutely. His loyalties lie there.
Yeah,
sure.
that's exactly what it is. So, I was disappointed in some of the outcomes, and now I'm like, it is what it is. It's fine. I feel like Cersei needed to have a more poetic end. And I was like, that's fine. Like, a lot of the stuff I've let go because, again, I know how it ends, and I'm like, all right, it's fine now. I think so. I think a lot of what I disliked was the expectations. It didn't meet where I thought it would go, and I think now I'm more at peace with it, and it's a decent one. Siren goes, I decree I must fart. Yes, I would decree that everyone has to get a fart soundboard. That's what I would say.
Doug's got a few things he would decree first before he gave up the monarchy.
Yeah.
I feel like you would get a few things in just to like kind of set precedent, and then you're like, now I'm out. Mic drop.
Yeah. Yeah. Siren was talking about a game they used to play too called King of Avalon, and they remembered the troops from that game. The rally order was infantry, cavalry, bowmen, and siege. And I was like, yeah, that's right. That's what we know is from those games, how that stuff works and how it operates. And yeah, so all in all, I've actually really enjoyed rewatching it, and yeah, it's been pretty solid. It's been pretty solid going through it.
You would. So let me ask you this then: do you think you would feel the same way if you revisited Star Wars again?
Star Wars isn't as like the Game of Thrones is a commitment. I mean, you're like I'm settling up to.
Do you think you could feel better about Star Wars because you got pretty angry about the way the trilogy, the third trilogy went?
Yeah, I'm kind of over Star Wars at this point. I just
still okay.
Nothing.
So we haven't got it.
Nothing about it. I think I watched. Did I watch season 2 of The Mandalorian? I think I did. Definitely didn't watch season 3.
I forgot. I was midway through season 3 and I got distracted.
I've heard Andor's good, so I do want to check that out at some point. I've
heard multiple people say Andor is without a doubt one of the best Star Wars properties that has been produced.
That's what I've heard.
I've heard more than one person say that, and it surprises me. So because I did the same thing, I was like, I don't know if I want to give this a shot, and I definitely need to go back and watch it now.
Sarah goes, would Doug fall for Leia again? Always. Always I would fall for Leia. What are you talking about? Yeah,
He's
Star Wars.
I mean, what else are you going to do?
Yeah. I just Star Wars was broken for me with the prequels, and it's never really recovered after that, as far as I'm concerned. So, they just keep making shit, and I'm like, good for you, but there's a new Jedi Fallen Order, I think, game that came out. I was like, couldn't care less. Just any games that come out, I'm like, don't care. There's a TV show with for kids. It's a new one that came out. It's like about young Jedi. I'm like, don't care. Just don't care. People are like, you watch the Clone Wars TV show? I'm like, nope, don't care. Just couldn't care less about any of it. I just do not give a shit. So, and it's just, I don't know if I'll ever come back to it. The only thing that would happen would be as if they basically did a brand new thing that was either way far in the past or way far in the future of what we know. And then maybe I do enjoy the anime things that they do. The first season they did, and then they're coming out with the second season of it. Right. And that stuff is awesome because it's short, contained stuff that does not tie to any larger universe, and I fucking love it.
If I'm not mistaken, I think they're going to go back and they're planning on doing one. Is it like the Knights of the Old Republic or something like basically they're gonna go back like 2,000 years and they're gonna start like way before the people we know.
Yeah, I've heard about that. I know that I think they're working on it right now, but again, maybe, and I need to rely on word of mouth for that because I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna get there.
Some people call it art. Some people say art is dumb sometimes.
You're fucking right. You're fucking right about that. Who here likes art? Raise your hand. Go ahead and put down. Before we go on, hey, just remember, Rich, how did you feel about Game of Thrones then, and if you've rewatched it recently now, let us know in the comments. Tell us what you think about it. Does it hold up, or were you pissed off when you first watched it? Did you love it? We'd love to know all of your thoughts. Let us know.
Do you still hold a fiery rage against it?
Yeah. Do you, or
all these years later?
Or do you just look at it and say nothing dead can die? What's dead may never die. There we go. I got there.
I was like, he's going to get there.
I was like, hold on. I didn't say that right. What is dead may never die. So there is a new, there's an art thing. And I say art in fucking quotes.
There's an art thing. Yeah.
Hey, Zinni, meow right back at you. Good to see you.
What's up, Zin?
Yeah, and speaking of, there we go. Speaking of Siren, in art, they said they drew a thumbnail for their new their channel, and it looks good. It's in our Discord. Speaking of, you should check out our Discord. Link in the description down below. Join the community. Be cool like Siren and Zinni. But speaking of quote unquote art, there's this art installation. What's that?
This just pisses me off.
Yeah.
My blood's boiling already.
Yeah, I'm not thrilled about it. So there's this goddamn art installation by an Italian artist named Maurizio Catalan, who is apparently famously provocative, but his signature work, a banana taped to a wall, fell prey to a basic impulse, the hunger it provoked in a South Korean college student. So basically, there's this fucking art exhibit that is a banana taped to a wall. It's called Comedian.
And if you think it's more than what we're describing, you're wrong.
Yeah.
It is a banana taped to a wall, hard stop.
Yeah.
That's it. Not a frame, not an indication of this is where the art should be placed. It's just a banana taped to a wall.
Yeah.
Hard stop.
It's supposed to, refer to comedy.
Yeah.
It's a representation of comedy. And apparently it's a $120,000 installation.
Say that again, Doug.
It's
how much?
120,000 American dollars. Real dollars, real money.
$120,000. There you go.
So this bothers me on a couple levels. Number one, this reminds me of an art exhibit that was in the Tate Modern in London when I visited there in college. Okay. And there was a glass of water that was sitting on a shelf, and it was called an oak tree. And there was an interview with the artist who was basically, they're like, what is this? They're like, it's an oak tree. They're like, yeah, but it's a glass of water. He goes, no. In my mind, it's an oak tree. Therefore, it's an oak tree. I remember just looking at it, getting so fucking pissed. I was like, someone is somehow getting compensated for this art. And every couple of days, someone probably has to refill this cup of water because it's art. And it was just infuriating. And this reminds me of that. Someone's like, hey, I taped a banana on the wall and called a comedian. Boppity boopy. Right. He's Italian, so he can totally, say that. And, this goes down a larger debate of what is art, right? And that is incredibly subjective. But this banana is replaced every day or two. It's not the same banana the whole time. So some poor fuck has to go there every couple of days and tape a new goddamn banana up there.
Right.
To be like, it's there. It's a banana. So there's that there's all of that, right? Like that. I think it's a dumb exhibit. I think it's dumb. And again, we don't have time to go down this rabbit hole. Justin suggests us a production meeting where we talk about kind of like how we talked about what is a sport. We talk about what is art, which I feel like is a much more intellectual route to go.
It could be, but not with us.
And I look at this, I was like, listen, I could tape a banana to a wall and be like, comedian. And to me, I'm just like, listen, I'm sorry. I expect more out of art, and that is to me absurd. So,
well, I feel like, the argument always comes back to this, where you're like, I could tape a banana to a wall, or I could fill a glass with water and put it on a shelf. In fact, this right now, I'm going to put on my shelf up there. Boom. I've got priceless piece of art hanging in my, my office. A lot of people say, I could do that. And then the response is always, well, you didn't, right? Someone else, this guy did, or this woman did, or this person did. So I understand that. Whereas where someone takes the time to do the thing, my argument would be, if I were to put this on a shelf, why isn't that worth $120,000? What makes this something anyone could do? No one did it. So what if I do that? Does it automatically make it that worth that much money? That's my whole hang up, is what makes this, if I were to do something, insane, let's just call it what it is. Why wouldn't mine be worth that much money? I guess that's where I get, that for me, that's the debate. What makes their insane move more valuable?
I don't have an answer for you. Just like
I
can't explain to you why your dog shits, all night. It's just,
Is my dog making art? Should I leave it there?
Sure.
And then sell the house?
Whatever. One man's diarrhea is another man's art. So, I don't know. I get frustrated because again, it's art is subjective for that very reason. Yeah. To me, there's like effort that goes into it. The idea that someone fills up a cup of water and goes, no, man, it's an oak tree. It's like, that doesn't take effort. Like, you could philosophically go through it down a rabbit hole with it. But for me personally, there needs to be effort behind that. Like when I look at a painting, like a magnificent oil painting, I'm like, I can't fucking do that. And someone took the time and the effort to craft this. I look at a movie, that I think is art. And I look at the actors. I look at the way that it's edited, the music, and how it's all put together. And I'm like, wow, that is art. I look at The Sandman or The Watchmen graphic novels, and I read those, and I'm like, the art and everything comes together. I'm like, this is beautiful. This is something that has taken time. It's been crafted. I look at video games that have been put together and everything. I'm like, that's art. And then fucking banana tape to a wall. I'm like, come on. Like, all these things are not the same, and I remember also there was another exhibit at the Tate that to this day still haunts me. It was a video of a guy in kind of a creepy clown mask, and he had boxing gloves on, and he was naked, and he was like punching himself, like just beating himself up, and then he was like jerking off, and that was like art. Okay. And he had sketches of, like, I don't know if you want to call it the sketches of like the, I don't know, what do you call those? Like the storyboards of like, that was, I'm sitting watching, I'm like, what the fuck are we looking at here? Like, what is this? I'm like, yeah, I've watched some movies and be like, hey man, that one's not for me. Went over my head, but when I look at that, I was like, someone did this and like, we've got to put this in this museum, like we're taking up real estate in this fucking art place for this. And then I look at this and it's like, there's banana tape to a wall. And they're like, yes.
So let's dive into the second half of the story, though, is that this random student was like, hey, I didn't have breakfast this morning and I'm hungry. And I'm in this museum of modern art, presumably the modern art wing. I mean, I'm here. And I'm just going to go ahead and yank this banana that's taped to the wall off the wall and eat it. Who does that?
A stupid person.
Not. If I see a banana taped to a wall, my first instinct is not, I'm going to eat that banana.
Yeah.
My first instinct is, I probably shouldn't touch this banana. It's probably a trap.
That's my thing. This is obviously a trap. This is like some video game level sort of like, you're putting a box out there with some sort of treat.
And a string.
Yeah.
It's like,
if I see food taped to a wall, I'm probably like, yeah, either someone very specifically has saved that for later and that person is desperate. It's not mine. I'm not going to eat that.
This isn't how bananas grow.
No.
You just find this in the wild. Yeah.
This could easily be like, if this was an apocalypse situation, that's totally a trap to capture somebody, you know?
100%.
This could be Last of Us sort of situation where there's a banana taped to a wall. People are like, food, I need food, I'm hungry. And they go and they get shot. And then someone takes them and they boil their flesh and eat them. Like, that's how it goes.
This is season 10 of The Walking Dead. I'm pretty sure I saw this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So the idea that someone's like, I'm hungry. Hey, look, banana. Now, let me ask you this, Justin.
Yeah.
How hungry would you have to be? And what food would it have to be for you to take something that's taped to the wall down and eat it?
Yeah, I mean, I would eat the banana if it had been. I mean, I would have to be really fucking hungry. We're talking like I can barely crawl my way to that banana. Otherwise, I'm pretty confident I can find food somewhere. I can beg, borrow, or steal and get some food that's not affixed to a structure to eat. You know, I would really have to be. I have a hard time walking. Maybe I'm seeing two bananas and I hope I'm grabbing the right one. Like, my vision's blurry. I'm worse for the wear. Otherwise, I'm leaving. If it's taped to a wall, it's going to stay there for a while.
I'm not going to an art museum if I'm that hungry.
That's fair too. Why would you be there if you were that hungry? You know,
and most of those places have some sort of concessions shop. Man, they make money on that sort of stuff. Like they've got like pastries or coffee or something. Man, there's totally something there. So also, this security here sucks. You know, I think it was last year you had those like performance terrorists who were basically going up to famous works of art and vandalizing it, to try and draw attention to the climate crisis. It's like, you think every art installation would be like, all right, man, we got to really up this in case people try this shit. And this guy literally walks up to something that I'm assuming has a rope, although this picture showcases someone that's standing right next to it taking a picture, so maybe it's not. And they just come over and they eat the banana. Also, it begs the question to be like, this has to happen a lot, right? This is too accessible. Yeah. And it's just like an easy piece of food to grab.
Well, I love the idea here too. It says that the student, when he was done eating it, he reattached the peel to its spot on the wall, which I will say, that's comedy. Like, if you're going to make an installation piece that's called comedian, that's fucking comedy. Put the banana peel back on the wall.
What I would say is, I think that guy was hired by the artist. Because
well, if you read further down in this article, he defended his actions, saying he studies aesthetics and religion at Seoul National University. He optioned about the artist's intent, saying that if the fruit is replaced every few days, is it meant to be eaten? And so he feels like his actions qualify as art rather than transgression. He feels like he changed or he manipulated the work and put it back on display. And I'm like, you know what? There seems like there's something deeper going on here. Like, because it's just odd for me that someone would eat the banana, put it back on, and then defend it. Something he knows. I think this student knows the artist. Something went down here.
Why would you tape it back up there? That's incredibly weird.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you knew what you were. You weren't just like, I was having fever dreams because I was so hungry. I was hallucinating. No.
Yeah.
You knew what was up. You knew this was wrong.
I think what would make it really funny if someone took it down and tried to use it as a gun, and then like held everyone up and stole an actual piece of art out of the museum. And then on their way out, as they're being chased, they throw the banana down and the guards slip on it and fall.
Exactly. And then they turn around and go, comedy.
They're like, comedian. Yeah. Haha. And then they,
And then the guard who's in traction is put on the stretch. He's wheeled back to the location, and it's an evolving art piece. Really, it's telling a story.
Yeah, and the guy that stole stuff is now Ocean's 14. He's like, I did it. I got away with it, guys. I did it.
Yes, absolutely yes.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know, man. Hey, I guess if you're hungry, eat.
If you're hungry, eat.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Why not?
I don't know, man. It's just, it is what it is.
Well,
I'm sad and angry.
I'm just sad that it was on display in the first place. Again, like it goes more so than the kid eating the banana. What are we doing with a banana taped to a wall, $120,000? I don't get.
Dude, they made merch out of it. They have that banana on their coffee cups there. They make money off of it. People come take a picture with the banana.
Right.
What they don't know is I've got fruit taped to my wall. Hey, come to my house.
Yeah.
Don't have to go over to wherever the fuck this is. Come to my house. Comedian. It's fucking dumb. Hey, I got an apple taped to my wall. Guess what? It's called Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. It's whatever. I don't know.
Right. It serves a very specific demographic. Yeah.
Siren goes, I am banana. I am a banana. All right. Yeah. Anyway, let's get practical, baby.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
You got the questions, we got the answers. All you do is ask.
Fuck it up. Fuck it up. Fuck it up. Fuck it up.
Practical. Ask Practical Doug.
Because nothing about that last topic was practical, so fuck that. No. So, all right, if you've never been here for Ask Practical Doug, Practical Doug is a small Doug that lives inside of Big Doug and helps guide Big Doug in all his life's journeys through all the questions and quandaries that may come his way. And the good thing is you can ask Practical Doug anything you want. You can ask him a question. He will answer you. Hopefully, maybe we'll see. You'll have to ask. You can either join us live on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Central and ask live. And if you do a really good one, we might forego the one we were going to do and do yours. I'm just saying. You could alter the course of this podcast. You could be a participant in the art we're creating every Tuesday. Think about that while I go on. Discord, there's a whole channel dedicated to Ask Practical Doug. And then any social medias, hashtag Ask Practical Doug when you at MindGap Podcast on any of the socials. This one, we're going to do another Am I the Asshole? And the one we were going to do got removed. Why? No idea. But we remember most of it. The gist of the post was that this young individual from England, an 18-year-old lad, was he had 2 donuts and he was nomming on them. He was noshing. And his mom brought some friends over. She invited some people over.
They came over unannounced. I think that's an important distinction.
Yes. It wasn't like, hey, on Friday we're having people over, and then he went and got 2 donuts on Friday and was like, I'm ready for the people. No. He just went. He was like, I need donuts today. And so he treated himself, as you should in life. And mom was like, hey, these guys are here. And they came in, they sat down, and he continued eating the donuts. Well, his mom got pissed off at him and said how rude it was that he did not offer the guests any of his food, any of the treats that he was treating himself to. And he wanted to know, am I the asshole for not offering food to these uninvited house guests? Doug, what do you think?
It's a great question because I know this varies from culture to culture. This is a very culture-specific thing. And I think when I break this down, like when people come visit me at my house, I will often try to offer them something, whether it's often what I offer them is drink. Would you like something to drink? Water, milk. That's what I got. That's all I got.
In your mouth,
Jill's got some wine. That's about all. Coffee, we could do that. That's about all I have to offer. Food wise, I will be like, do you want, if it's something that's unexpected, I'm like, whatever. And I think that's the key here. If I'm expecting someone, I'm stocking the place up. I'm cooking for you. We've been through this. What do you want? Like my buddy Colby, one of my oldest friends, came to visit. He's a vegetarian. I made sure to prep the place so that like we had vegetarian food and everything like that. If someone just stops by, I'm kind of the mind of, I'll offer you what I got.
Right.
But if you're like, yeah, man, I'm totally starving. I'm like, well, there's a Wendy's down the road, if you want a Arby's too, if you want diarrhea, that's kind of what it is. Or if it's like, if you were stopping by and expected them like, dude, I got some chips and dip, I've got some French onion dip and some like, you and I will get in on that.
Yeah.
But if it's people I don't know that well and they just happen to stop by, like I said, I might offer them something, but I won't feel obligated. And the same thing, if I go to visit someone's house, I'm going to prepare my body appropriately
Right.
to go visit someone's house. Like I, at most I might ask them for a glass of water. That's it. I'm not asking them for food. I don't expect them to offer me food because I'm a picky son of a bitch.
Unless you're going there for a dinner party, like unless you're like food has been discussed and it is on the itinerary for what we're about to do, then that's a different story. But if food has not been discussed, food should not be presumed.
And I know that's also an old school thing. I think it used to be like when you come visit someone's house, you would offer them
a roast.
Right. Hey, do you want some lasagna? Like it's one of those things that people would just go and they would actually, make refreshments for people. I think in the modern times, that's not something I expect. And in this situation, this person basically being like, yeah, man, I bought 2 donuts and these people came over. I think maybe the rude thing may have been this person eating in front of them. Apparently, they all had to discuss planning for something. So he was hungry, so he ate his donut while they were there. Maybe there's a little bit of rudeness to that, but even so, I'm like, it's not that big. If someone's like, hey, man, I'm eating my breakfast, I'm like, yeah, dude, I don't give a shit. Do what you got to do. If you're hungry, eat.
Yeah.
I'm in your house, you do your thing, man. I remember taking a taxi ride once from the airport to Disney World when I was younger, and there was a taxi driver, and he had been in the middle of eating his bagel, and his bagel had jelly all over it and stuff like that, and he would he got us, and he didn't get to finish it, so he was like chatting us up and stuff, and he kind of had it like sitting on the console. I think I just kept staring at it like, look at that bagel with jelly on it. It got to the point where I think he noticed me staring at it, so he just took a napkin and just covered it. I think he got self-conscious of it. And I felt bad because I'm like, I'm just staring at your breakfast that, obviously he was hungry and didn't get a chance to eat it. And I felt bad. Like, this poor guy just wanted to eat. So personally, I'm of the mindset of, in this particular situation, this person was not rude for not offering his donuts. In particular. I mean, again, if there was something else, because it seems specific that his mom was mad that he ate and then didn't offer that to them. There was only 2 donuts. So
yeah, what are is this it's not like you're Jesus on the Mount, I'm going to turn these 2 donuts into breakfast for a continental breakfast for everybody.
If he brought back 2 dozen donuts, walked in the door, was like, "What's up, guys?" and just walked into the kitchen, he's like, "I got these for me." Yeah. I mean, if you've got a bunch of shit, it's like, yeah, offer it. But if he's like, I've got 2 donuts that I bought this morning, you came by unannounced, I'm hungry, I'm going to eat my breakfast.
Right.
He's not the asshole.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I would say, if he needed to be part of the conversation, one thing, if not, he could have probably removed himself and had breakfast somewhere else, in another room of the house. Maybe that. But again, you show up unannounced. I'm doing what I'm doing at my house.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And of course, there will be those that say it's his mom's house, not his house.
True. So his mom should have offered. Isn't that the thing? Shouldn't she have offered, not him? It's her house.
Yeah, there you go. Now we got it.
How come she didn't have anything available to offer them? I remember one time a friend of mine he's just classic, known for this. He'll be like, "Hey, man, I'm in your neighborhood." And I'm like, "Okay." He's like, "Cool, I'd love to hang out." I'm like, "I'd love to hang out with you." And the thing is, I want to hang out with him, but it's just always so sudden. I remember one time he did this. I was like, "I'm literally doing my laundry right now." And I lived in an apartment, so it was like, I have to go down and get it out of the shared area and bring it back up. So I'm like, "You can hang out with me while I do my laundry." And he did. And he was totally cool. It was fine. It was a classic moment where I'm like, my apartment is not clean and whatever, but you're here. You didn't give me advance notice, so I'm doing my laundry. Come hang out. And he was like, "Okay." And he did. And we hung out and it was totally cool.
If you don't give people notice, don't expect, because right now, my house is, we've got there's dust bunnies on the ground. We haven't.
There's dog shit everywhere.
We've painted the fucking walls. My kitchen wall looks like a Jackson Pollock painting, and it is disgusting. Yeah.
We just painted over the poop. We're like, I don't want to clean this up anymore.
Texture, baby.
Dude.
But yeah, no, if you don't.
Can I deviate just for one moment? This brought back psychological trauma. When I worked at the hotel, this disgusting little gateway into the ether that is hell, the employee bathroom was absolutely disgusting. It was one of the worst places to go to, and I had to go there every day. It smelled like rotten, stale piss all the time because guys just, at urinals, for some reason, can't always piss in the urinal. They would piss on the floor. So it was like this permanent yellow stain, orange stain. there, and the place just reeked. There was no ventilation. It was one flickering light away from walking in and just expecting someone to be chained to the ventilator as if it's a Saw movie. They had like black and white tile floor. It was disgusting. And the worst part was if you had to take shit in there, because it was also the locker room, there's always people coming and going. But people would go to take shits in there, and they would pick their nose, and they would wipe their boogers on the wall.
Oh.
All right? Okay? Yep. And here's the thing. No one ever cleaned them off. So it got to the point where they basically fossilized. And at one point, one of the guys from engineering was like repainting the place. And he told me, he goes, dude, you have no idea how hard I tried to scrape that stuff off. It wouldn't come off. So he had to paint over them. So in the bathroom, you'd see all these little bumps under the paint for where this guy had to paint over the boogers. I still have on my phone, I have pictures of this.
Oh, why would you keep pictures of that?
Because I like to know where I came from, Justin. I have to remind myself of how far I've come in my life. Because I go back to those moments, I'm like, this is the hellhole I went to every single day for 6 years.
Oh, man. That is disgusting. That is rough.
So when I inadvertently was making a joke about you painting over the poop, that brought back this memory of painting over boogers from adult men who just couldn't. And the thing was, Practical Doug stepping in here, you've got toilet paper. Mm-hmm. You've got a toilet. I mean, if you want to go real nasty, you can just eat it. But no, these guys would pick their nose and be like, yeah, and just put it on the wall. Almost like it's some serial killer putting together their trophies, you know? It's just line the walls, and you look on left to right, there's boogers on both walls. It was a fucking nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare.
It's horrendous. I don't like anything about that. That's gross.
So I want to go to the chat real quick here, because Siren says, in the UK, if the food is purchased by the person eating, they can do what they like with what they buy. They can stick it to a wall if they want. Offer drinks is fine. Food, biscuits is offered if you have any. Biscuits is cookies over in the US. If the guy bought their donuts, it's for him. If I recall, they had 2 donuts. How is 2 donuts going to feed his mother's friends? Exactly. Absolutely. So, now you get it.
Yep.
So, yeah. So I'd say this guy's not the asshole.
Ruled. Done.
Ta-da. We did it.
Wait. We got to have a ruling made.
It is decided.
It is decided, yeah.
Oh, well, that was fun.
Boy. Dougie, what do you got to recommend this week?
Oh, you're starting with me. Oh, okay.
Well, I decided to speak.
Oh, how about that? I'm so glad you decided to speak. For me, I actually have a podcast I'd like to recommend called History That Doesn't Suck. It's hosted by Greg Jackson, and I was listening to one of my other favorite podcasts called Real Dictators, and this was actually advertised on there. And he suggests, basically his approach to this is he's like, history is always boring. And I very much remember going back to my time in history class growing up, and it was like, hey, read this and memorize it because it's going to be on the test. Mm-hmm. And you'd read these facts, which looking back on through Missouri education were, I don't know, loosely written. But what this guy does is he tells you about history through stories. And he does incredible research, and he adds sound design. And, I started at the very beginning, which is basically pre-Revolutionary War, 1740s. And he talks about George Washington as a youth, about how this 22-year-old essentially is at this Fort Necessity, getting with 150 of his troops who are getting their asses kicked by the Native Americans and the French. And it's like, how did George Washington get to this moment? And he's like, let's rewind and take a look at that. And also he does such a good job of telling the story of this stuff. And right now I'm up to we just went through the Boston Massacre, and we're getting to the Boston Tea Party. And he's just filling in a lot of the nuances and demystifying some of these founding fathers that we hold up as these amazing people, like John Hancock. Yeah. The dude, as Greg Jackson puts it, was essentially Batman of that time. He was a super wealthy bachelor who was kind of a vigilante because he, was associated with the Sons of Liberty, and his parents had died. He was the wealthiest guy in Boston because he inherited a shipping import business from his uncle, who was a fucking smuggler. Like, just. It was what?
Totally changes the narrative, yeah.
You're like, holy shit, like what? And you just, I don't know, it's like realizing that these were real human beings, and he does such a good job with his research. It's incredibly entertaining. I really enjoy it. It's history that doesn't suck with Greg Jackson. I highly recommend it. I think I'm getting to that point in my life where I'm like, I told this to Joe, I'm becoming like a dad that's like, I'm into history now. I want to know about the history. And I just...
It happens to everyone. Like, it happens. All of a sudden, one Christmas, you get a book about the Civil War, and you're like, well, I guess that's it.
I find it fascinating because I realized the stuff that I learned was not nuanced. It was just this thing. Remember it for the test. And now as I'm going back and like breaking apart different aspects, like for the longest time, I was like, how did World War I happen? I remember it was like, Archduke Franz Ferdinand was assassinated, but why was he assassinated? And also you realize how World War I absolutely led to World War II. Like, just like all the building blocks that go into that, you're like, holy shit. Like, I get how that could happen. It's absolutely fascinating.
It's a lot easier too when you find someone like this who breaks it down, because it can be overwhelming to sit there and really try to put it together yourself and do the research. And some people like it. I don't have the patience for it. So when I can find someone who has put it together like this in an entertaining, digestible way, I love, like, this is my jam. So I'm definitely going to be checking this podcast out.
Yes, it's totally cool. Highly recommend it. Check it out. Justin, what do you got to recommend?
I'm going to recommend the movie Air on Amazon Prime, streaming on Prime right now. That's the movie about how the Air Jordan came to be, directed by Ben Affleck, starring Matt Damon and Ben Affleck and Viola Davis and...
Seth made the same joke I did.
Airbud? Yep, there it is. Yeah.
It's the prequel to Airbud.
Yeah.
Great movie about a great dog.
Hold on. I'm going to... Oh, yeah, Chris Tucker. Jason Bateman. That was the other one I was trying to remember. Yeah. It's got a great cast. Sometimes, I know you and I talked a little bit about how there's a lot of movies right now, for some reason, about companies or things that are like real things that actually got made, and like the retelling of how they got there, like Air, BlackBerry, Flamin' Hot, Tetris, Unfrosted, the Pop-Tart story. Like there's a lot of these types of movies, that are coming out. The ton of them that have came out, but Air really stuck out to me. I thoroughly enjoyed it. The writing was good, acting was good, and I'm assuming they did a pretty good job sticking to as close to what happened. There's no way you're going to get all the conversations behind closed doors and the nuances of what the relationships were like. But there was a lot of, they showed a few reference pictures from scenes, and like they'd set things up. So I have to assume it went down relatively close to how that happened. I will say Jordan's mom, if this part of the story is true, she is a fucking boss. She's amazing. She was the one that said, we'll accept your terms. There was just one thing on the offer sheet that you guys omitted. My son's going to get a cut of every shoe sold that has his name on it. And they're like, well, that's not how the business works. And she goes, well, I know, but maybe it's time the business changed. And she's like, if you want him this bad, this is what's going to happen. And they're like, I don't, and like they hemmed and hawed, and finally they went back to her and said, you know what, fuck it, all right, fine, we'll do it. And there's a great line at the end, and spoilers if you don't, they signed Jordan, Nike got him, the ship sank. Mm-hmm. There's a scene where Ben Affleck's sitting on the couch, and he's like, I'm worried we've set a dangerous precedent for the rest of the athletes out there. They're all going to want this. He's like, you know what? Fuck it. What's the most we've ever made on a tennis shoe? $3 million. He's one guy. How much can he move?
Yeah.
And then the thing comes up that says, like, in the first year, Air Jordan sold $164 million worth of shoes. And to this day, they're a $4 billion, that division alone for Nike rakes in $4 billion. Jordan makes $400 million in passive income a year off of that. It's fucking amazing. So
still argue it was a worthwhile deal for everybody.
Absolutely. But kudos to Dolores Jordan for she was a fucking boss. If that's truly how it went down, god damn, that's the kind of person you want in your corner.
Yeah. Pretty amazing. Good
so
stuff.
It was a good movie.
I'm looking forward. I'm going to check that out. That'll be on my short list of stuff to watch after I wrap up Game of Thrones here on my rewatch. So, hoo-ah. Well, gang, thanks so much for hanging out with us. As always, it's just an absolute delight to be here doing the podcast and to doing it with my best bud, Justin. So you all great. Thank you for listening. And if you'd like to be so kind, if you're watching us on YouTube, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. It costs you nothing, and it helps us a ton. We'd really appreciate it. Also, check out the links in the description down below for our Discord. Come join, be part of the family. You can check out our merch at redbubble.com, and you can support us on patreon.com/MindGapPodcast if you'd like to throw some money our way. You can also follow us on all our social media at MindGapPodcast. And don't forget to follow Justin as well.
On Instagram at Justin_Michael, spelled Mikel. It's the fun way of spelling it. And while you're in the online realm, check us out on all the places where you can find quality podcasts. You'll be able to find us there and listen to us. And we'd love it if you shared us and subscribed, rated, reviewed, all those things. Showed us a little love on there. The big one is sharing. Let people know that we're a podcast you listen to, because that goes a hell of a long way. Recommendations from you mean the world to people you know. Just remember that. And then 2eastaith.com and 2eastaith on all social medias, and loveandimprovfilm.com and Love and Improv Film on Instagram. We're hopefully starting to chug forward just a little bit on the investor front. So we might
chug.
We'll yeah. So we'll see.
Yeah. Cool.
Hopefully more news coming soon. Fingers crossed.
Hell yeah. Well, with that being said, I want to say, Justin, thank you.
Douglas, thank you.
Chat, thank you.
Listeners, thank you.
And you all have a dandy fucking week. Doot. Yeah. Doot. All right. Siren, you recommend Living Universe. It's talking about people looking for other exoplanets. Ooh. There's little parts of the story if a future mission that is heading to Minerva, huh? Interesting. That's fascinating. Where's Minerva?
It's really cool.
Where is Minerva? In space?
Sure. Oh, it's McGonagall. Yeah, Minerva McGonagall, right? McGonagall?
Minerva McGonagall. Oh, yeah. Minerva mission highlights. Interesting. Minerva.
Yeah, fucking A. I love that. I love anything about space. I'm into it.
Yeah, it's so crazy because like I'll see like a headline about space, about how there's like some massive explosion or black hole, and I'm like, oh, I click on it, I start reading, I'm like, I don't understand what any of this means. Like I just start
I'm
like,
so lost. Yeah.
I'm like, I'm good with the headline. I'm fine. That's good enough for me. You know. That works. That's good.
That works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm hoping to stream games this week, this Friday. So I'm gonna test out a game tomorrow night. It's called King of the Castle. It kind of plays like Jackbox in that only one person needs to buy it, and then everyone else can join. So it involves it's wow irony. This just dawned on me. Involves being a king and having to deal with other players who are trying to essentially ascend to the throne.
Well, there you go.
Great. And guess who gets to play as the king? I do, because I'm the host.
You get to spend your free time doing the thing that you're trying to actively avoid.
Again.
Yep.
Yet again. So, well, it should be fun. Supposedly it's a fun game. We'll find out. So, I watched a demo, like just like this is what the game is. I'm like, I don't know, man. This seems like pretty stressful. So, we'll see how it goes. So
let's give it a fucking shot. Why
let's
not?
do it, baby. Let's do it. King Doug, what is your wisdom? I don't know, man. Never pet a burning dog. You know, like that's.
Boats are depreciating assets.
That's what it is. Boats are depreciating assets. Don't buy them, and don't lease them either. That's a bad thing. Get a friend with a boat. That's my wisdom.
That's right.
All right, gang. Well, thanks so much, Siren. Thank you so much, Seth. Thank you so much, Zinni. Thanks for stopping by. Hope you all have a wonderful evening/morning. You all take care, and we'll see you on Friday for the game stream. Mwah. Later, taters.